So, it's time to talk about NuJam guitar. Yeah, it's time to talk about NuJam guitar. This is going to be a very interesting video because this game in particular has interesting development cycle problems. This is not going to be fun. Let me get, the actual fun stuff out of the way first, though. This game looks really, really cool. Even for 2002, it still looks cool all those years later. And the reason this game was invented, it was actually invented by Dan Klitzner. It's a Klitzner invention. The pitch of it was to give Beat Bop, the mode in Bop, where you don't hear any voice commands, but you hear just sound effects and you respond to them. Give that its own game. That's literally what this is. And the commands are, strum, which is either up or down, twist, which is this way or that way. Then you have two sliders. No, you have but you have two slide commands. Pardon me. I'm not going to be able to actually physically play the game. I'm filling this with one hand on my iPad, after all. But I can explain it. I'm very good at explaining things. It also has a 3.5mm headphone jack, which can be used for, headphones, or plug into a speaker. There's the power button, volume button, beat selection button, and the game selection button. The speaker is right there. There's not actually a speaker up here. I always thought there was, but apparently there isn't. But yeah. Let me showcase what NuJam actually sounds like real quick. And that's actually a great segue into mention that the game actually does
jam, rhythm, group, jam, free jam.
Like everything that you hear in the game, obviously not the voice. Like this, for instance. Despite what people might assume, no, those aren't MIDIs, actually. They're just very, 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 very compressed audio files of, actual instruments. I never knew that, especially as a kid. I never would have guessed that. But yeah, that's actual drums and guitars. Listen carefully. Again, that's the best I can do, pardon me. Had to reset it. But yes, this is pretty much what happens when you give Beat Bop its own game. And the game modes themselves,
Jam.
That's basically just like its version of saying, it's a Beat Bop solo in this case.
Rhythm, jam.
And say it goes like do. You have to do it at the exact same pace and speed that, shows you, and then when you do it right, it'll go, yeah, you don't have to play it that way to get a perfect part of the run. If you still do the exact same inputs that it shows you, you do still progress. It's just you won't earn as many points, but you know what I mean.
Group jam.
That's just its version of Pass It.
Free jam.
I just showed that off. It's just where you go freestyle. Line selection and the beat selection. And this is kind of the reason why I had to make this video short and both simple and complicated at the exact same time. Simple because I can't really, physically play the game. But complicated because this game is notorious. It's very infamous for its very, very, very short development cycle. And this is where I can talk about the stuff that I'm allowed to talk about. This is not going to be easy. So for those who don't know, and particularly for those who haven't seen my interview with Dan Klitzner, when we talked, we actually did talk about NuJam guitar. He told me that it was actually rushed for the holiday season. I'm not kidding. Hasbro did not give him enough chance to finish finalizing the game. It's finished, but, make sure it wasn't very glitchy, and make sure that, had decent performances, whatever. This is the logical reason why the build quality, it's absolutely terrible. That wasn't really me insulting Dan Klitzner. Obviously, he's the one that said that it could have been a lot better. It's literally Hasbro's fault. And the audio chip is really bad. Even if you play this thing on max with headphones, oh man, it's so bad. I legitimately, when I had this as a kid, this is not my childhood version of the game, it's replacement. I legitimately thought the game was actually breaking down. But No, in actuality, it's the audio chip itself. It's actually not the speaker, it's the audio chip inside the game that is horrible due to being rushed. And that's not even the worst part, like the most controversial part of this game's short development. Let's just get this over with. Well, I can't share these, I can only mention these. There exists prototype beta files of the game's audio, as well as the game's original VA, who is going to be Adam Rossi. And for those of you who are wondering who that is, that's literally the exact same guy that voices both Groove It and Break the Board, which I will admit is pretty cool. So, I guess the question you're probably going to ask me is, do I recommend NuJam Guitar? Well, it's a Klitzer invention, and I will always support Klitzer inventions. Considering how bad this game came out, like, the overall quality of the game, which again, I remind you, was not Dan's fault. No. If you want it as like a piece of electronic gaming history, like I do, yes. That's the reason why I have it, but very rarely play it. Like, it could have been a really great game. It really could have been, but because of its very rushed development, it came out really, really poorly. So, unless, again, if you want to actually play this, avoid it entirely. If you want it for historical relevance, like electronic gaming history, go for it. Oh, man. But, yeah. Overall verdict. Aside from the do I recommend this game part. Again, I really do like the aesthetics of the game. It's got like a really cool glittery finish. Like, on the silver part, you can see a kind of glittery finish. I'm not sure if it's going to show up on camera. Inside where the strummer is, there's a really nice glittery finish, and on the neck as well, and on the slider itself, there's a really beautiful glittery finish. But again, it can be more or less described as nothing more than a collector's item, and a collector's item is, like, in the way that, you'd never actually use it. So, again, if you want it for a piece of history, go for it. If you want to play it, avoid it entirely.